Under the ruthless Egyptian sun waits an archaic parchment whose ancient secrets are as profound as the hieroglyphs carved on it, which seem to dance across the surface of the papyrus. This is the Book of the Dead, a fascinating but very mysterious relic of a civilization lost in the sands of time. Its narrative is as much of a story of life as of death. It sounds like the distant voice of a society that believed the two realms were inextricably linked. On a dry and sweltering hot afternoon, our guide, the renowned Egyptologist Dr. Amara El-Masri, unwraps one of the preserved copies of the book at the Cairo Museum. As she carefully handles the papyrus, her fingers trace the crude black hieroglyphs that make up the ancient script. "It's more than a document," she says, awe ringing in her voice. "It's a bridge between worlds, a testament to the Egyptians' deep understanding of death and the afterlife. It is a guidebook, a map, a list of incantations, and a collection of prayers." Just as a modern traveler might consult a guidebook to a foreign city, so the book served as a navigational tool for ancient Egyptians journeying to the afterlife. It promises guidance, protection, and the possibility of an eternal existence filled with the same pleasures they enjoyed in life. As we embark on this journey into the ancient Egyptian understanding of life, death, and the cosmos, we will be immersed in a world of incantations, prayers, and rituals. We will enter the world of the pharaohs, priests, and people whose beliefs and practices were deeply intertwined with the contents of this remarkable Book of the Dead. Study of the ancient papyrus. In the bustling heart of Cairo's Egyptian Antiquities Museum, a number of ancient papyrus scrolls are competing for attention, each more fascinating than the last. Among them, one particular set stands out, a series of texts known as the Book of the Dead. Intricate and carefully preserved, these scrolls transport us back more than 3,000 years to a time when the fertile banks of the Nile were home to one of the world's greatest civilizations. Dr. El-Masri carefully unfolds one of these scrolls, revealing a long papyrus whose edges are slightly frayed with age. The text flows across the papyrus in vertical columns filled with carefully painted hieroglyphs, and the vivid illustrations bring the ancient rituals to life. The figures depicted gods, humans, and mythical creatures give form and context to the narrative. The Book of the Dead is not one text, Dr. El-Masri clarifies as her fingers delicately trace the edges of the papyrus. It's a compilation of various texts and incantations written over nearly 1,500 years, each copy with unique tailored to the deceased from whom it was made. In fact, the Book of the Dead is more accurately described as a collection of books, with each scroll personalized with selected incantations, prayers, and instructions that were believed to help the deceased cope with the challenges of the afterlife. The texts were often crafted by skilled scribes and artists, with the work commissioned by those who would afford such a valuable guide for the journey into the afterlife. In ancient Egyptian society, preparation for death was important, if not more important, than life itself. The Book of the Dead played an important role in this context. It was a spiritual guide, a lifeline to the afterlife, a manual for the soul's journey beyond death. The physical characteristics of the scrolls themselves attest to their vital role. Each scroll was made from papyrus, a plant native to the Nile Delta whose long, fibrous stems were pressed into a flat sheet that could be rolled and unfolded as needed. It is painted in black and red ink, made from soot and ochre respectively, and the vibrant illustrations come alive with the palette of mineral-based colors. The Book of the Dead has thus become a remarkable combination of art and religion, of personal aspiration and collective faith, of human creativity and divine inspiration. Journey into the afterlife. To understand the Book of the Dead, we must first understand the ancient Egyptian concept of the afterlife. Dr. Sahar Saleh, a professor of Egyptology at the American University in Cairo, explains, "For the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end but a beginning, a transition to another form of existence. The afterlife was seen as a continuation of the earthly life, but without disease, aging, and death. The book provides a roadmap for this journey, with its spells and instructions designed to guide the deceased through a series of challenges that will lead them to eternal life. Among these challenges is the weighing of the heart ceremony, a pivotal event in which the deceased's heart is weighed against the pen of Amat, the goddess of truth and justice." Professor Saleh elaborates, "If the heart in which the deceased's deeds were recorded during his lifetime was lighter than the pen, he was permitted to pass into the field of reeds, a heavenly realm of eternal abundance. But if the heart was heavier, it was swallowed up by Amat, a monstrous deity with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hind parts of a hippopotamus, leading to a second death, the utter destruction of the soul." The book is rich with such vivid imagery that serves not only to capture our imagination, but also to highlight the moral code that governed ancient Egyptian society. Fear of the second death was a powerful deterrent against wrongdoing and an incentive to lead a virtuous life. But the journey to the afterlife was not the only test of moral character. The deceased also had to navigate a complex landscape of divine beings, each with their own roles and responsibilities in the cosmic order. The book provides the names and attributes of these deities, as well as the appropriate prayers and rituals to appease them. Decoding the spells. When Dr. El-Masri unrolls the papyrus further, the intriguingly inscribed hieroglyphics reveal a collection of incantations, each more compelling than the last. These incantations, or sentences, as they are often called, are the heart of the Book of the Dead. They range from the practical offering instructions for overcoming the perils of the afterlife to the deeply metaphysical, addressing the very nature of existence and identity in the realm of the gods. Think of these incantations as a set of tools you will need in the afterlife, suggests Dr. Saleh, who has spent years deciphering these ancient texts. They provide the deceased with this knowledge, strength, and protection needed to overcome obstacles and ensure a successful journey to the afterlife. One of the most famous spells is Spell 125, which details the ceremony of weighing the heart. It contains a list of negative confessions and declarations of innocence that the deceased was to utter before a divine jury. The confessions include statements such as, "I am not a king," and "I have not lied," reflecting the moral and ethical standards of ancient Egyptian society. Another notable spell is 17, one of the longest and most complex. It contemplates the nature of the creator god Atum, the cosmos, and the place of the deceased within it. This spell is a philosophical discussion, explains Dr. Saleh. It deals with the mysteries of creation and the interplay between order and chaos. It emphasizes the pursuit of knowledge and understanding, which have been considered essential to achieving eternal life. There are also spells to protect the deceased's heart from betrayal during the trial, spells to transform into different creatures to avoid obstacles, and even spells to ensure a supply of bread and beer in the afterlife. Voices from the past. Delving into the Book of the Dead is like listening to a chorus of voices from the past, each utterance echoing ancient wisdom, deep faith, and external curiosity. Yet to fully understand the remarkable text and its implications, we must also listen to the voices of those who have dedicated their lives to deciphering the ancient whisperer. Understanding the Book of the Dead is like trying to decipher a map of the cosmos, complete with its own symbols, markers, and directions, explains Dr. Saleh. Each cantation Each image tells us something about how the ancient Egyptians perceived the world and their place in it. Historian Dr. Zawi Hawass, a stalwart in the field of Egyptology, emphasizes the moral subtext of the text. The book is a guide not only to the afterlife but to life itself, he says. It outlines a moral code to live by, a code that was crucial for the deceased to achieve a blissful life after death. The ancient Egyptians understood to perfection the concept of mat, or balance and harmony. They knew that their actions in life would echo into eternity. Meanwhile, Dr. Amara El-Masri stresses the importance of understanding the culture context in which the Book of the Dead was created. The text is a product of its time and must be understood in that context. The gods, the rituals, the incantations, they were all part of the ancient Egyptian worldview, a complex assemblage of myth, religion, and philosophy. The Book of the Dead was not the sole position of the pharaohs or the elite. Over time, as the cost of producing these texts decreased, they became accessible to wider sections of society. This democratization of the afterlife reflects a shift in social norms, indicating a society in which the promise of an afterlife was not limited to the upper echelons. Furthermore, the rituals associated with death and the afterlife detailed in the book were an integral part of daily life. The process of mummification, the building of tombs, the offering of food and drink to the deceased, these practices were deeply ingrained in the social fabric. They are a testament to their belief in the continuation of life after death. Preserving the dead. Egypt's vast desert landscape is punctured by towering pyramids and ornate tombs, silent but eloquent testaments to the ancient Egyptians' reverence for the dead. The art of preserving the dead and ensuring their safe passage into the afterlife was a primary concern of this civilization, and the Book of the Dead served as a spiritual compass that guided these practices. Mummification, the process of preserving the body for the afterlife, is perhaps the most famous of these practices. The ancient Egyptians believed that the physical body was an essential component of the individual in the afterlife. Its preservation was therefore of permanent importance, a process described in detail in various incantations in the Book of the Dead. Spell 154, for example, is a decay prevention spell, says Dr. El-Masri. The importance of preserving the body is stressed throughout the text. The Egyptians believed that the body, heart, and name of the deceased should be preserved to ensure their existence in the afterlife. In addition to mummification, the book influences the design and construction of tombs. The layout of tombs, the artwork, the inscriptions, all of these are influenced by the Book of the Dead, adds Dr. Hawass. The tombs were designed to provide a comfortable abode for the K or spirit of the deceased. They were provided with food, drink, and other necessities for the afterlife as prescribed in the text. Funeral rites were also guided by the book. Incantations were recited, sacrifices were made, and rituals were performed to ensure the safe passage of the deceased into the afterlife. These rituals served not only to honor the dead, but also to strengthen social bonds and reinforce the community's shared beliefs and values. As we walk through the Valley of the Kings, exploring the tombs and studying the mummies, we are following the path outlined in the Book of the Dead, concludes Dr. Salah. These practices and monuments are the physical manifestation of the beliefs and teachings enshrined in the text. They are a testament to the ancient Egyptians' deep respect for the dead and their enduring quest for eternal life. Subscribe to the channel to never miss such interesting videos.